Hi everyone, this is Lada from astrolada.com and I'm here to do your July 2018 horoscope together with Mila. Mila is 3 months. Say hi, Mila. She's been my source of strength because the July horoscopes 2018 and August, these are the two most extreme months of 2018. Guys, lives will be transformed, fates will take a new direction, changes on an epochal way because we have two huge eclipses happening, and we also are going to, hey Mila, and we have Mars retrograde and Mercury going retrograde. I would walk you through all of this. I just wanted you first to have some fun, see Mila, to start on a positive tone, and we will end also on a positive note, talking about Jupiter going direct and how you can benefit from that. But be prepared for one of the most intense, exciting months, possibly also the most difficult months, July and August together. I'm just gonna drop Mila to my mom. Hey, say bye, Mila. Bye. Wish everyone luck during the eclipses. Wish them luck to have the best results possible. There you go. Thank you. And why are these months, especially July and August, so crazy? Well, people who are yearning for a change, for a big change in their life, people that want to totally transform their thinking and certain areas of their lives, they might actually have a blast this month and consider it one of the most powerful and one of the most positive experiences of their life. But eclipses always bring some crisis of a sort. And eclipses, and I'm making the same intro for everyone, for all the 12 signs. I want you to listen to it because it gives us a lot of insights, and then I'll speak specifically how it affects each of the 12 signs. But before I start, I just wanted to tell you that on the 8th of July we have a webinar with Nicole Stojanovic on what in astrology gives the richest people. Nicole Stojanovic is a favorite of many of you, so I'm looking forward to have you on that webinar preceding the eclipses. And the first eclipse is a solar eclipse in July and the 11th, which is caused together by Rahu. Rahu is the north node of the sun. And eclipses are about karmic events, things that you have like a contract about even before you're born, the big events that happen in our life, the big transformations of consciousness, the big leaps to the next level. And sometimes, often it happens through crisis, because only big transformation comes through crisis. This is the nature of humans. Very few humans are inspired towards change because everything is okay and they're inspired to make it even better or to grow spiritually. The solar eclipse is weaker though. The solar eclipse is weaker than the lunar eclipse that follows. But the whole July, I'll be more careful about starting things like buying properties or signing contracts, or, because especially a few days before and after an eclipse, it's the light is hidden. The light of the sun or the moon are hidden, and it means that there's a lot of confusion. The eclipses act as portals for invisible forces to come and create chaos, and out of this chaos new beginnings and changes can build. But you don't want to make big decisions, especially when it comes to the second eclipse, the lunar eclipse, which is the strongest in 120 years eclipse, the most strong lunar eclipse in 120 years, that is closest to Earth, and it's gonna be seen in most of Africa, Europe, and in Asia as well. Extremely powerful eclipse. I would advise you a week before this eclipse and a week after the July 27th. And then there is another eclipse in August. This summer, there are 3 eclipses in a row, guys. Very karmic events are about to happen, and very fated events. I mean, things that happen on eclipses are people getting pregnant, birth of babies, things that, and usually within the month of the eclipse. You can feel it a month before, a month after, sometimes even 2 months after. But this is when our lives turn around, and some eclipses take from us because they want to teach us about detachment. That will be the lunar eclipse. It will be about losing things, letting go of things. And some eclipses give us things, so we can further incarnate, and so we can fulfill certain desires that we have, because the purpose of the eclipses are spiritual and soul evolution. And the evolution of the soul happens by, first, there are 2 ways that it happens: that our desires that we have are fulfilled, so we realize that we've been chasing an illusion. For example, you really want to be rich, or you really want to have that guy, or all you always wanted was to have a child, all you always wanted was to have this business. And Rahu eclipses, which is the first one, the solar eclipse, gives us those things. And once we have them, we realize that it's an illusion, that it does not is that not fully create what happiness is for us. So we're still searching inside. But Rahu gives. So in Western astrology, we tend to like Rahu because it's an eclipse. When Rahu is involved in an eclipse, we receive things, we get things, and usually, again, though, they're preceded by some crisis, because a big change and big transformation always involves some kind of crisis. And sudden, it's usually very surprising when eclipses come, but usually it's something that you've had to do for a long time, but you've been postponing, or you didn't have the willpower, and now other sources, other powers take over and start acting through you. And, like eclipses bring things to culmination, so to speak. And maybe you've wanted something for a long time, and this Rahu eclipse now can give it to you, but it might be again preceded by some kind of crisis, but it will be some kind of new beginnings, because solar eclipse is when the sun and the moon are together, creation of something new, female and male polarities are joining together to create new life. But because of Rahu, which is considered a demonic influence, it happens through some kind of shake-up in our life. But this is when it's contracted. It's what's had to happen. There were 2 eclipses on my moon in the last year and a half, and the moon is motherhood, and I got pregnant both times, maybe a month before, a month after. But usually the eclipses, it doesn't mean it will happen on the 11th of July. It means that if something new comes into your life, it might come a month before or a couple of months after. But the eclipses are like those beacons that say that something fated is going to happen in your life. And as I said, the Rahu eclipse, the first one, brings something through crisis, sudden new beginnings, transformations, because Rahu and Ketu, that cause the eclipses, the north and south lunar nodes of the moon, the mythology about them is that they were nagas, which is snakes, dragon. They were a dragon that was cut in two, and the symbology of dragons is that they shed their skin, and snakes as well, for transformation. So the big thing to remember about eclipses is big transformations, and they're never easy. It means about the light is hidden for a little bit, so it's almost like you might feel like something like a metaphorical death of some sort, a death of a part of your life, a death of an old part of you, but so that again the sun or the moon can be reborn when the darkness of the eclipse is removed from them, and because chaos ensues first of some sort, before again the king and the queen, the sun and the moon, can take reign over your life and make it run according to kind of more predictable and normal patterns. But while around the eclipse, a couple of months around, I would say some of you would feel it already from June, some would feel it into August as well, but July is the most intense. There is this darkening. People start to get confused or to change direction in their life. They get sudden changes and transformations are starting to happen. And while it's dark, there are a lot of fears. And we're like, what does the future hold? Rahu eclipses prepare us for the future. They bring new karma. And again, it can bring a lot of fears. When I got pregnant both times, I was full of fears, It's a crisis on the mentality. Even if it gives you something, it's a crisis on your whole lifestyle, on your whole expectation for whatever you wanted for yourself. And then there's something new that comes that is fated, that's totally going to change your life. So this Rahu eclipse on the July the 11th will bring something like that. It gives things, it gives transformations, but through some kind of sudden crisis. New karma is created, then strong passions. Rahu is the mouth of the dragon. The dragon has 2 parts, Rahu and Ketu. The mouth of the dragon is Rahu. It's insatiable. It's something that we want to grab from life more and more. So often, sometimes people can even fall in love around eclipses, and especially Rahu eclipses, in a crazy way that they lose their mind. And because of that, their whole life transforms, and they can do something passionate and intense. That's almost like eclipse of the mind. The sun is our conscious ability to make conscious choices. And Rahu darkens that. The eclipse happens on the sun, so you kind of lose your mind over someone with strong passions and stuff like that. While the next eclipse, July 27th lunar eclipse, is, as I said, the strongest eclipse is going to be seen, especially if you're in the path of the eclipse. If you are able to see that eclipse, your life will definitely be so strongly impacted. But for the whole of the world, I warn you, quite an intense eclipse. It's conjunct Mars, and Mars is retrograde. Mars is a very violent star when it's retrograde. It's much closer to Earth. So, and Ketu means past life. When an eclipse involves Ketu, it's about past lifetimes or past karma, something from the past, and especially that creates a lot of frustration or angry reaction on us. So kind of a old slumbering karma of anger can come to the surface during that time, a week before or a whole month after that. I would say the whole month, this is active, and you can feel like strong, intense emotions. And also it has a square to Uranus, the eclipse, by the way. And Uranus and Mars ultimately want to give freedom and liberation to a person from something. They make you so angry about something. Mars, especially retrograde, you're like, I can no longer tolerate that. There's so much like pent up fire that is starting like volcano to erupt. Be careful not to erupt and lose your minds again, lose your heads when the moon is eclipsed. The weeks before and after, we can do crazy stuff that we regret. I mean, the last time the moon was, Mars was with Ketu, there were quite some famous suicides of Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade on the exact day. So people can lose their mind, and this time is much more powerful because Mars is retrograde, so much closer to Earth, much more intense. The influences are way more karmic. It's bringing anger, pain. Mars is all those things from the very bottom of your soul, from past lifetimes, from earlier periods in your life, something from the past. Ketu rules the past. This kind of anger and this pain is going to erupt now on the surface, but the ultimate goal of Ketu eclipses is to release it, to release that anger, or to use that anger to detach yourself from something from the past that is no longer necessary in your life. So there will be powerful endings. Losing something. Ketu is about letting go of something. I don't know if you see it well here, but letting go of something. Ketu is the tail of the dragon. While Rahu takes something, that's why we usually get something in life during Rahu eclipses or around the months around it. In Ketu eclipses, we let go of something. It's the tail where you excrete. So where old karma, the baggage we all carry a lot of baggage with us, and that's Ketu, the karma. And we need to travel lightly on our path. And when the baggage becomes too much, it's like we can't move forward. But we're so afraid to lose something. We're so afraid to lose a relationship. We're so afraid to lose a safety of some sort. We're so afraid to lose a job or whatever. And Ketu comes, and there is a Ketu eclipse, and says enough. Yes, you've been thinking about that, but you haven't had the strength to do it. Now you're letting it go, and there is no choice. Power stronger than you take over, karmic powers, and you have to drop that baggage that you've been carrying with you from past lifetimes or from past experiences, or something that is no longer necessary in your life. It can almost be severed, just like Ketu and Rahu, the head of the dragon and the tail, was severed by the gods because they tried to be immortal. The same way something can sometimes, even literally, when there is an eclipse of Ketu on someone's ascendant or something of the body, there might be a part of the body that gets severed. That's very extreme cases, hopefully not for you. It's happening on my ascendant. I hope I don't come with one leg less or something by the end of that. But it's about letting go of certain chapter of your life, and it's going to happen in a violent way, or it's going to happen because Mars is our willpower, and it's going to happen because we get angry, or because we're like, okay, now I have much more stronger willpower to do that. And Uranus is also about cutting connections and about changing something in a powerful way, in a sudden way. So this eclipse is really what I'm gonna focus on a lot in those predictions, but ending about karma. So the positive thing of it is, yes, we can lose something. We have to change totally the direction of something, let go of something. But we can also release old karma, that is heavy baggage. We can also release, complete something. We can, if we've been burdened with a karmic disease or with a karmic unhealthy obsession or something, we might finally be able to detach from it in some way. It's a big karmic conclusion, and for every person it's in a different area of their life. Just be careful for very extreme emotional reactions, because the moon is our feelings. It's being eclipsed. It feels as if some people might become hysterical, panicky around that time. But remember, this is a period of big alchemical transmutation that's happening in your subconscious. The layers of your karma are being rearranged, are being cleansed, are being, kind of like gods and powers above us rearranging those things for us. And it's fearful, it's scary, it can feel confusing, it can feel exhilarating for some people. It is rare, but for some people they can. And after that, I guess even in August it continues, but we'll speak about that in the August videos. And so, yes, I just want you to remember, yes, it will be an intense month for every person. These things can be happening, those big transformations that the snakes, Rahu and Ketu, the eclipses want to create in our life, the hiding of the light from us, basically the sun and the moon are our consciousness, our feelings and our consciousness. When those two are blocked and hidden by the eclipses, which is what Rahu and Ketu, these are the dragons that swallow the sun or the moon according to mythology, we lose. Darkness happens, it's like a metaphorical death, and a new rebirth of light comes again, the light of the sun or the moon. So our life comes up out of the darkness, emerges after the eclipses on a new level, on a new direction. So big transformations, guys. Ultimately, it can be used for good people that have been craving for transformations for a long time. It might be now for them. And of course, it's very hard to predict how exactly eclipse will affect a person. Even if I have your chart specifically, I can say more who exactly will feel it the most. If you have a planet exactly on those degrees, this one is at 4 degrees Aquarius, so anything, and this one is at 20 degrees Cancer. But again, everyone will be affected somehow. They have those degrees somewhere in their horoscope, certain area of their life. And I would like you to check your ascendant sign for this prediction, and of course your sun sign, but always the ascendant sign is more important. And of course, not everyone will have those big transformations. The eclipse is twice a year, every year, but still let's see where you can go through big changes, big transformations. So let's see how the eclipses affect you if you're a Gemini. Well, the first eclipse actually, which is on the 11th of July, but the whole month is under the influence of this eclipse, is about giving you something. Yes, it can be preceded by a crisis of some sort, but it's happening in your second house of material gains and resources. So it's possibly can be an eclipse that create some shift that is unexpected or sudden in regards to your resources. It might be a bit of a crisis. You might have to, need some time to regroup and gather your wits around you, but some change or a new source of financial resources of some sort, because the second house is about money, resources, how we support ourselves, collections, possessions. So maybe gaining something, and we might be even a bit too greedy if you're Gemini when eclipse in the second house, but this is the greed that pushes you to discover new sources of income, to discover new sources of material gains, to go after something that you desire materially, because as we said, the first eclipse is Rahu eclipse. It's ravenous, it gives, it takes. Basically, if you're Rahu, you take something, you receive something material, and it's in the second house of financial situation. But there might be, because it's an eclipse, because it can create some stress, there might be some, for example, initial shock, like, oh, you no longer have this job, or this, we might be doing some kind of we might be doing, the bosses might say we're cutting off people from jobs or whatever, and you go into panic mode and you say, okay, I need a new source of income of some sort, so. But it is, Rahu will help you explore new beginnings in regards to resources, sudden crisis as well, and reversals in regards to your resources, but which eventually, within 6 months of the solar eclipse, you see the final results. Eventually, even if there's some sudden crisis in regards to your resources or possessions or something that you own, that something happens to it, or you get dissatisfied with the state of your resources, and it eventually leads you to you gaining more of something financially or materially. And by the way, you're going to have eclipses in Cancer in your second house for the next year and a half after that. So it's just the beginning of such a process, guys. And it should be gainful overall materially for you. But again, it will be through some kind of crisis, through some kind of, intense experience, sudden transformations. You can also gain something that you wanted for a long time. You can have strong passions again about resources, new karma. You can create new karma. Be careful. I always warn when there is kind of a solar eclipse, especially Rahu. Rahu is a bit of I don't know. It doesn't keep rules. It's yes, it's progressive, but it's too ravenous and it's unlawful, so to speak. It break rules and taboo. Don't break rules and taboos in regards to money and resources, because Rahu can detract you from the right spiritual path, can from the right behavior, so to speak, can tempt you. Rahu is temptation. I think I should write here temptation as well. So you can be tempted in regards to something material, in regards to something financial, but don't use illicit means for that. But it will, this passion that you start experiencing for that will bring to you new opportunities for in regards to resources and finances as well. And also because the Rahu is about transformation, shedding one's, transformation. I said there's a Rahu and Ketu are both about big transformations, and the second house is connected to your self worth. So something can happen, possibly initially through some kind of crisis or sudden surprising twist and development of events that grows your self worth. And because of the growth of the self worth, and that pushes you to grow the self worth, because of the growth of the self worth, you uh, eventually attract more material resources towards you. But don't get involved in some kind of because Rahu can also create illusions of some sort. Don't get involved in illusory get rich fast schemes, which Rahu is often very tempted. Rahu wants to become like the gods because it was a demon. It wanted to drink the juice of immortality, and it's very ambitious and doesn't want to take the lawful steps to get there on its own through evolution, wants to jump from here to there. And yes, indeed, eclipses with Rahu can give sudden rise in the next 6 months of your life in regards to finances. So for you, it's happening in the house of finances, but it can also do it in ways that are not properly legal, so to speak. And then after that, even though it gives you, it can take from you after that, because there will be eclipses. It can take away in another, once the Rahu eclipses finish. This thing can be taken away from you if you got it in illicit ways, because it is influence of temptation, as I said. But again, overall, let's focus on the positive. There can be some big changes and transformations that affect your self-worth, and that brings more financial resources into your life, kickstarting from this summer in July. But again, try not to make some very important financial transactions a week before or a week after the eclipse, because eclipse hides the light. Something is still adjusting, something is still not clear. You might be missing something there, And be careful if people promise you big money for things, that sounds too tempted, too exciting. Make sure you check it, because Rahu can be deceiving in influence as well, But actually, it can take you up there and make you the money, but you might end up regretting it because you didn't know exactly what would be involved. So be careful, trying to keep your head cool, but know that there are opportunities for transformations and changes in regards to financial situation and resources. Okay, what about the other eclipse? The eclipse in July 27th, that's the more powerful one, and it's actually happening for you in your ninth house, which is a positive. It's not so negative impact on Gemini, this eclipse, even though it's the more powerful eclipse. And let's see. Basically, being in Aquarius, it's your ninth house. It can take something away from you. The ninth house is about your beliefs and your outlook on the world, your spiritual beliefs, and not only spiritual, but some kind of, what do you believe it's possible in this life for you? And it basically defines how lucky you are, because the more you believe in something, you can just, due to the faith, like what did the Bible say? If you have a grain of belief that much, you can move a whole mountain. And our beliefs are always and mostly often what basically impacts us of how successful in life, how happy we're in life, because the same thing can happen to two people, and one person sees it as a blessing, the other one sees it as a curse and gets stuck on that negative perception of it and just ruin their life with jealousy and anger, while the other person can turn it into something amazing. So these are our beliefs. something will transform. Your mind is transforming. Alchemical processes are happening because it's happening on the moon. How you feel about something, about your beliefs is shifting. You might end up after this eclipse, maybe by the end of August, when the energy subsides, not July, the end of August, another month after that, having a totally new outlook, a totally different outlook on the world. Maybe some, on the positive scale, maybe you'll release some negative beliefs about yourself, about your life, about creation generally, and you might, on a positive level, you might unburden yourself from a heavy karmic burden of painful beliefs, for example. Maybe you were conditioned to believe that from family or previous lifetimes, that life is hard, or that the universe is unfair, or whatever it is, something that is burdening, something that you've been dragging too much as a belief, that has been stumbling, that's been like a stumbling block for you, can be released. But it will be preceded by some crisis. It might be spiritual crisis, belief crisis of some sort, and after that, it's the light of the moon in the ninth house will be reborn for you again. You intuitively can basically release a lot of pain in regards to your belief systems and old beliefs, and intuitively get pulled towards a more holistic and spiritual beliefs about life. But you might also have to let go of something more tangible and material in regards to ninth house, which is, ninth house can be higher education. Maybe you've been planning to study something for a long, you've been thinking, oh, I want to be, I want to pre-qualify and I want to study to be an accountant. And then something happens now that you might have to release that goals, that plan for higher education, and you might have to suddenly detach, and maybe you realize down the road that you actually don't want to be an accountant, that you want to be work with animals. So you might be letting go of something, or you might be completing. This is about completion, ending karma, completing something, higher education of some sort. You might be completing, letting go, maybe finishing some higher studies of some sort, and you are completing that and moving forward, so it's no longer part of you. That's on a positive scale. On the negative scale, it might feel painful for some of you that you have to say goodbye to certain illusions and attachments in regard to how you perceive the world. It can feel painful. It can feel like a crisis of belief, what is that called, crisis of faith, and it might be also letting go of an attachment to a teacher, to a mentor of some sort. The ninth house rules that, letting go to some ninth house rules foreign countries as well. Well, it can indicate maybe having to let go of some illusion or desire to be in a certain foreign country, and that can feel like a painful process. So it can feel like, okay, depends what your state of mind is. Or if you have karma connected to foreign countries, or karma like heavy responsibilities or duties of some sort connected to foreign countries. If you've been living in a foreign country, that's ninth house. Or with foreigners of some sort, that's ninth house again. Or in regards to some educational, high educational matters. Well, this might complete now. This might end. It can feel like a mini death of some sort, but it can feel very liberating as well too. But be careful, because this is also about some violence and anger can happen. Mars is involved in this lunar eclipse. You might be feeling that ninth house is the house of where am I heading in the future? What do I see for myself in the future? What is the meaning in my life? It's a very important house, and it's kind of like my faith in life. What is the purpose of my life? And there can be a crisis there with this, or there can be a lot of anger that erupts in regards, maybe it might be brought on from someone. The lunar eclipses are about interaction with someone, that it kind of makes you have a pained or angry reaction in regards to how you see your future, your goals for yourself, your future plans for yourself, the purpose and the meaning. You might lose for a little bit this connection to a purpose and a meaning. I'm not saying depression, mental hospital stay. No, it might be like a week that you're like, I'm confused. Like, it is dark, and the ninth house is you seeing the future and planning and saying, this is my goal, this is what I wake up for, this is the purpose. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's eclipse, you don't see it anymore. You might feel like it's meaningless. What's the purpose? So it's because you have to rearrange those goals. Something has to change in regards to how you're planning your future and what is the meaning that you find in your life and the purpose of your life. Something has to shift on a deep level. I'm telling you, there is a transformation that's going to be happening on an alchemical level in your mind, in your soul. The ninth house is the house of our perspective on life. Your perspective of on life and your purpose in life can be shifting. It might play out through a small thing, as I said, like you changing some goal in your life. And realizing that you have to let go of a certain goal that's no longer, or a certain infantile it's not plan, or certain thing that is, in regards to your goals and in regards to how you picture the future, that you have to let go of it. And this is what can create the kind of the crisis for a little bit. Okay. Or as I said, if you might be wanting to go to some country far away, this can complete your karma in a faraway country if you've been there already, or this can complete some academical, ninth house is academical, higher educational project of some sort. Okay, and then we have Mercury going retrograde in your third house. Well, communications, especially towards the end of July, from around I would say from the 20th onwards, when Mercury starts changing direction gradually, communications can become a bit problematic. Be careful not to lose or break, give away passwords of your phones. Third house is all about communication, and Mercury is the house of communication. So be careful with your anything to do with transportation, that you don't miss details, that you don't catch the wrong train. It can be something silly like that. You're going towards work and you catch up the wrong train, or you misplace your phone, or you go and pay the bills twice, or you forget to pay bills. It's something about managing the affairs of your everyday life that can get botched up or confused, and you have to be able to, you have to correct that. Mercury retrograde periods require from us to be more mindful of Mercury things, of details, of crossing the I's and dotting the T's. And if we miss such things in the past in regards to what we speak, right, it will come back maybe to be corrected. Maybe we might have to, in worst case scenario, apologize for something, or just maybe we miss some emails and now we become aware that they've gone to spam and we have to write to people and apologize, or such things like that about writing, speaking. And maybe sometimes you can hear something that you've spoken about can come back to you now, and someone might ask you, why did you say this, or what did you mean exactly, and you have to explain yourself more. These are some of the things that can happen. Or maybe some collaborator, third house rules, siblings. You might get in touch with your sibling that you haven't seen for a while, something coming back. Some friends from high school, from workmates from before you haven't seen. Third house is all kind of associates, friends, people we see on everyday, workmates, playmates, such kind of roommates. If we haven't been in touch with someone can come back from the past, and you can reconnect with them when Mercury is retrograde in your third house. But it can also create, if you are in such relationships with people, it can create some misunderstanding that come to the surface to be talked through. Some kind of crisis situation with siblings, relatives, neighbors. Not too big, but something that has to be fixed and communicated and clarified. And let's end on a positive note. Jupiter is becoming direct Gemini in your sixth house. And that's about if there were some complications with work, with some complications with health. Sixth house rules that. Now Jupiter starts moving direct from the 10th of July. So gradually, because it starts moving direct very slowly. It's kind of like stops and then it's and gradually you start seeing a change of direction. Maybe in regards to your health, it can start improving if there were some health problems, or you can start seeing the results now if you've been putting some efforts towards improving your health, diet, daily habits and routines that directly impact your health. You might start seeing results finally, gradually. If it was very difficult, you'll now start becoming easier. Also, if there were some complications or delays, or the need to put extra efforts, or some kind of a more complicated situation in regards to your work, in regards to work situation, employment, or with employees, the sixth house rules all of those things, or with a pet of yours, they will start improving and they will start moving forward, and better results will start happening. There is a change in direction in regards to that. If there was some enmities, sixth house rules enmities, now they can start getting resolved as well. If there was some debt and it was more complicated, Jupiter starting to move direct in the house of debt as well, the sixth house, some duties, some debt, responsibility starts improving, or maybe even an opportunity will come through that from you having worked on that debt or responsibility. So on that positive note, get ready for the roller coaster month of July and August for interesting times, and I will see you next month.